The 10 most powerful constructions in the world. Dubai's Palm Jumeirah barely makes the list, and the Great Pyramids surprisingly only rank third. The number one spot cost $1 trillion, looking like something out of a science fiction movie. How was the Sky Bridge, spanning over 560 meters high across a canyon, constructed? The mysterious methods used to build the legendary Egyptian pyramids have been unexpectedly revealed. Are they true or false? And what about that enigmatic structure on an Antarctic glacier, capable of withstanding temperatures of -60 degrees Celsius? How does it function? From ancient times to the present day, humanity has continuously challenged the limits of engineering, using bricks, stone, steel, and wisdom to carve countless breathtaking construction marvels onto the surface of this planet. In this episode, join us at Global's Best as we delve into the world's top 10 greatest constructions. The number one spot is truly out of this world. We look forward to your subscription and likes. Number 10, the artificial island. The island before you, shaped like a giant palm tree, is hailed as the eighth wonder of the world and is also the largest artificial island globally, Dubai's Palm Jumeirah. It is a maritime empire that Dubai's wealthiest tycoons spent $14 billion to create, literally planting it on the edge of the desert with 94 million cubic meters of sand and 5.5 million cubic meters of rock. The entire island covers an area of 250 square kilometers, equivalent to 1,000 football fields. The island features 12,000 private residences, over 10,000 apartments, numerous luxury villas, as well as high-end hotels, water parks, golf courses, shopping centers, tunnels, a light rail system, bridges, and essential infrastructure like water and power supply. It is arguably the most difficult and luxurious construction project in history. If it weren't located in the land of tycoons, Dubai, it's likely that such a magnificent blueprint could never have been realized in any other country. From a start of construction in 2001, struggling to survive during the global financial crisis, to its revival years later, with parts now in use while others are still under construction. The history of Dubai's Palm Jumeirah is a microcosm of global economic fluctuations. It also represents one of the greatest challenges in human architectural history. Although the island now appears magnificent, a paradise for the rich, the entire project, from initial planning to final completion, was incredibly difficult. Before 2001, Dubai's ultra-rich, with more money than they could spend, were no longer content with land-based activities. They were determined to extend their lavish lifestyle onto the sea, and thus, the Palm Jumeirah was born. Its shape is highly characteristic of the local culture, making it unique in the world of architectural blueprints. According to the plan, the island would extend 5.5 kilometers into the Arabian Gulf, covering an area of 12 square kilometers, and connect to the mainland via a 300-meter-long bridge. Upon completion, the island would feature tens of thousands of luxury homes, hotels, and tourist facilities, becoming the world's largest and most expensive man-made island and a new icon for Dubai. To integrate the island with the natural environment as much as possible, the designers abandoned all conventional building materials. Steel and concrete were not used. After intense discussions, they decided to use local sand as the land reclamation material. Considering the local wave intensity, strong winds, and heavy rains, they ultimately built a 3-meter-high, 11.5-kilometer-long breakwater around the outer edge. The project faced a near halt in Dubai's tourism after the 9/11 attacks, only slowly recovering a year later. To catch up on the schedule, they brought in dozens of marine construction vessels for land reclamation. Giant dredgers first excavated sand from the nearby seabed and deposited it at designated locations. Once the sand was filled to a certain height, crushed rock was added to stabilize it. This step alone was already incredibly time-consuming and labor-intensive, yet it was only the beginning. To ensure the foundation was as stable as possible, 16 quarries in the UAE began round-the-clock blasting operations. Workers laid 5.5 million square meters of rock blocks on top of the sand. Like a layer of armor, they firmly protected the sand and stone beneath. How meticulous was this process? Even the placement of each individual stone was strictly calculated beforehand. They were carefully arranged by weight and size to ensure each stone had sufficient support, and the gaps had to meet specific standards. After completion, a professional diving team would go underwater for inspection. Any issues required a complete redo, which demonstrated Dubai's determination to build the Palm Jumeirah. By 2003, two-thirds of the island was complete. To prevent the seawater inside the island from becoming stagnant, the Dubai tycoons once again used their superpowers by creating 2 openings in the outer ring and even dispatched professional staff for daily inspections. By August 2008, the breakwater and the island were fully constructed. The next step was to compact the foundation. The team first used road rollers for the initial compaction. Then, they inserted giant vibrating iron rods deep into the ground. The vibration of the rods compacted the surrounding sand. This process continued until the area around the probe became solid. In the end, this phase of the project took nearly 9 months and involved drilling over 2 million holes. In May 2004, the above-ground construction on the Palm Jumeirah finally began. From that moment, the world's largest artificial island truly entered the public eye. Although it experienced the financial crisis and conflicts within the design team, most of the Palm Jumeirah is now in use. The countless luxury homes, hotels, and a wide variety of amusement facilities on the island, complemented by the surrounding beaches, have made a top choice for many tourists visiting Dubai. The construction of the Palm Jumeirah is a feat of human engineering, representing the pinnacle of artificial island creation. Building such a huge and bustling island from the sea is nothing short of a miracle. Number 9. Undersea bridge piers. Do you know how the piers of cross-sea bridge are built on the seabed? It's not, as we might assume, by directly filling materials into the sea. Instead, it's done by creating a dry, empty space directly on the seabed. This idea sounds absurd and seemingly impossible to achieve, but this is precisely the construction process for world-class bridge piers. First, workers navigate an engineering vessel loaded with steel sheet piles to the designated location. Each of these steel sheet piles is as tall as a 5- or 6-story building and about as wide as a car. Next, the workers operate a massive hydraulic hammer to drive these piles deep into the seabed. The edges of these piles have special interlocking clutches. As long as they are driven closely enough, they can lock together firmly, forming a fence-like structure that isolates the area from the surrounding seawater. To prevent tiny gaps between the steel sheet piles from allowing seawater to seep in, engineers use a nesting doll approach. They build a second wall of steel sheets inside the outer one. After leaving a half-arm's width gap between the 2 layers, they fill it with a sufficient amount of concrete. Once the concrete completely solidifies, the space between the 2 enclosures becomes a watertight wall. Then, they pump out the seawater from inside, creating a dry patch of land. However, a new challenge arises at this point. When the water inside is pumped out, the immense pressure from the outside seawater will push inward, causing the entire wall to collapse. The clever workers devised an excellent solution. Before pumping out the water, they install a sturdy steel frame inside. They also lay a 2-meter-thick concrete base slab at the bottom of the enclosure. When this material hardens, it becomes smoother than tile, completely blocking any possibility of seawater seeping up from below. At this point, the entire project is less than halfway done. The main event comes next. Workers will build a dense network of steel reinforcement bars inside. This entire process requires precise calculations. Afterward, they will seal it with formwork and pour concrete. Once the concrete dries and solidifies, a brand new underwater bridge pier is complete. At this time, the workers will dismantle all the enclosures. Then, bridge construction can begin on top of the pier. In fact, the cofferdam method is only suitable for pier construction in relatively shallow waters. Once the water depth exceeds 12 meters, the steel pipe method must be used, which involves driving a thick steel pipe into the seabed first. Then the mud and sand inside are excavated. Afterwards, a steel reinforcement cage is placed inside and filled with concrete, resulting in a solid foundation pile. By replicating several of these and capping the top, a massive underwater bridge pier is formed. This method is suitable for higher precision engineering. Both the cofferdam method and the steel pipe method are the most advanced pier construction techniques today, collectively representing the pinnacle of underwater construction. Number 8. Undersea tunnels. Having discussed undersea bridge piers, let's now talk about another construction marvel of the deep, the tunnel. You must be curious why undersea tunnels built in the sea don't have seawater flowing into them. How are these tunnels firmly established within the water? Currently, there are more than 20 large-scale undersea tunnels completed worldwide. Famous examples include the Channel Tunnel and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge's undersea tunnel in China. These are all indispensable projects in the history of human architecture. Compared to tunnels on land, the construction of undersea tunnels is certainly more difficult. This requires engineers and construction teams to come up with more advanced technologies. Currently, there are two main methods for constructing undersea tunnels worldwide: the immersed tube method and the shield tunneling method. The immersed tube method involves sinking prefabricated tunnel sections to the seabed and then joining them together to form a complete tunnel. The undersea tunnel of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge was built using this method. However, this technique is only suitable for relatively shallow sea areas. Deeper waters require the shield tunneling method. This method uses a large tunnel boring machine, TBM, or shield machine. The front of the TBM has a large cutting head that rotates to excavate the tunnel while moving forward. The rear has a hard shell to support the surrounding earth, and the middle contains a sophisticated assembly device that can piece together precast concrete segments to form the hard inner wall of the tunnel. From the outside, the entire TBM looks like a giant python advancing, carving a tunnel through the seabed. This is currently the most expensive method. A single large TBM is incredibly costly. This is a world-class project truly built with gold and silver. Number 7. Offshore drilling platforms. Do you think offshore drilling platforms are built up from the seabed? Actually, they are not. These platforms are first constructed and assembled on land, and then towed to a fixed location for operation. They are anchored to the seabed. At this point, due to the sea's motion, the entire platform will sway from side to side, making extraction operations completely impossible. To solve this problem, water is injected into the base of the platform. This lowers the platform's center of gravity below the sea surface, making the entire structure much more stable. The structure on top of the drilling platform is also very interesting. On the edge, there are cranes. Nearby is the living quarters for the staff. There is also a helipad for crew transport. Below, there are lifeboats for emergency escapes. The most crucial component is the flare stack on the side. It promptly burns off flammable gases from the oil, ensuring safety and preventing accidents. Having discussed the structure above, let's talk about how it extracts oil from hundreds of meters below. During operation, the platform's crane lowers a drill bit inside a casing to the seabed. Upon reaching the seabed, the drill bit starts rapidly, heading straight for the deepest underground regions. At a certain depth, the casing stops descending. The drill bit then continues to the predetermined depth. After that, the drill bit is retracted and a smaller casing is inserted. Cement is injected into the channel and, using high pressure, is forced to the outside of the casing. After solidifying, it forms a tough pipe. This process is repeated until oil is reached and our cement casing is formed. Then the oil extraction work begins. This process is easier said than done and highlights the preciousness of oil. No wonder it's so expensive. Number 6. Metro through a building. If you haven't seen it with your own eyes, you would never imagine that a metro can not only pass through underground rock layers, but also through high-rise city buildings, creating a brilliant duet with modern urban architecture. In Chongqing, China, the Liziba station, where the metro passes through a building, has become a local landmark. It's not just the locals who are amazed. Even world-class engineers come here to visit and admire this great work in the history of metro construction. Riding this metro line, you can not only get a panoramic view of the city, but also feel the thrill and excitement of the train passing through a building. Constructing such a breathtaking project is also quite challenging. Due to factors like urban topography and traffic density, the metro might forego the underground route and choose to pass through a building to minimize losses. As early as the year 2000, the local authorities decided to build the commercial residential building and the metro station simultaneously. This means that from the very beginning of the building's construction, space for the metro to pass through is already reserved in the design plans. To ensure the smooth operation of the metro without disturbing the residents, the metro and the residential building use completely independent construction systems. Additionally, the monorail train's inflatable rubber tires and air spring suspension system reduce vibration and noise during operation. The attention to detail is immense. If you have the chance, you should definitely experience it and feel the beautiful spark of the metro colliding with the city. Number 5. The High-Altitude Bridge. This is the world's highest bridge. It is the Beipanjiang Bridge, located at the border of Guizhou and Yunnan provinces in China. The bridge spans across both provinces, with a total length of 1,311.4 meters. The vertical height from the bridge deck to the river below is a staggering 565.4 meters, equivalent to a 200-story building. If you stand on the bridge and look down, your legs will tremble. People with a fear of heights might faint on the spot. Driving on such a high bridge feels like strolling among the clouds. It's definitely a thrilling experience. Official data shows that the entire bridge weighs 30,000 tons and uses tens of thousands of steel components and 8.55 million sets of high-strength bolts. What's even more astonishing is that it has no piers in the middle. At a glance, it is a giant bridge completely suspended in the air. To ensure the bridge stands firmly at high altitude, the construction team used 112 pairs of cable stays, totaling 224 cables, to suspend the entire bridge. It looks like a giant dragon soaring into the sky, writing its legend in the valley. It's no exaggeration to rank such a magnificent and high-precision structure among the world's top 5. Number 4. The skyscraper. Dubai not only has the stunning Palm Jumeirah, but also the unforgettable Burj Khalifa. The tower's height reaches an astonishing 828 meters. In terms of materials alone, it used 330,000 cubic meters of concrete and 62,000 tons of steel reinforcement. However, the costly building materials are not the most impressive thing about the Burj Khalifa. The real marvel of the project is how an 800-meter-tall tower was firmly erected in the middle of a desert. Dubai is located in a desert. Engineers dug 140 meters underground and still couldn't find a hard rock layer. This meant that if the foundation were built directly on the ground, the entire skyscraper would be unstable due to the loose sand. How is this world-class problem solved? Clever engineers came up with the idea of driving countless friction piles, each over 30 meters long, under the foundation. They go deep into the desert. The deeper they go, the greater the friction. Eventually, all the friction piles and the sand mixed perfectly, creating an indestructible force. This entire process took nearly 2 years and required a massive amount of manpower and resources to complete. Next, the workers would build a raft foundation on top of the friction piles. They used a large amount of high-strength steel bars and welded them together. After adding a large number of formworks on top, they poured concrete, allowing the entire foundation to take shape. Due to Dubai's daytime temperatures reaching over 40 degrees Celsius, workers were unable to work under the high heat. Therefore, most of the construction of the Burj Khalifa was done at night. This required workers to have even greater mental fortitude and more meticulous skills, representing a top-tier challenge to the limits of human construction. You would never guess what a genius idea the designers came up with to further stabilize the foundation. Since Dubai is only a few kilometers from the Persian Gulf, seawater could seep in at any time and corrode the underground steel bars. To solve this problem, engineers used the cathodic protection method. The steel bars in the foundation were made into a cathode, and a titanium mesh was added as an anode. After applying a direct current, electrons would accumulate on the cathode. thus preventing the steel bars from corroding. Next came the construction of the main body of the Burj Khalifa. Viewed from above, the entire tower is shaped like a desert flower. This wasn't just for aesthetics. It also allows for more comprehensive light harvesting, ensuring that every room is sufficiently bright. The central area, which cannot be reached by sunlight, was perfectly suited for constructing the core tube, where the elevators are installed. To make the core tube more stable, the architects also designed a buttressed core structure. This structure stabilizes the core of the entire building and can also serve as a corridor for people's convenience. Ultimately, through one ingenious idea after another, this tower, standing over 800 meters tall, was completed, becoming another glorious masterpiece in Dubai's architectural history. What do you think? After seeing this, aren't you amazed at how incredible it is? Number 3, the pyramids. This is the most mysterious place on the entire planet, known as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the famous pyramids of Giza in Egypt. What we see before us is the largest pyramid in all of Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Khufu. It is composed of 2.3 million stone blocks and stands 146 meters high. Each block weighs tens of tons. From the outside, this triangular structure seems unremarkable. However, how so many stone blocks were perfectly fitted together, allowing the pyramid to stand for thousands of years, is a problem that 99% of the world's builders cannot solve. Especially for the ancient Egyptians of 4,600 years ago, who were still in the Bronze Age, it seems like an impossible task. In 2013, scientists discovered a mysterious papyrus left by the pyramid builders on the edge of the Red Sea. It showed that the ancient Egyptians had mastered a special method. They created the world's largest lens, which, under direct sunlight, could reach temperatures of 1,000 degrees, capable of melting any tough rock. Egypt has millions of cubic meters of limestone. They simply needed to mix it with kaolin-rich white clay, pour it into pre-made molds, and after it cooled, the minerals would undergo a chemical reaction, forming blocks as tough as the exterior of the pyramid. Afterward, the Egyptians selected the most perfect design from 230,000 triangular structure drawings and carried out the precise construction, ultimately presenting the form we see today. For many years, countless builders have tried to replicate the pyramid's construction process, only to find that this miraculous structure still holds too many incomprehensible details. All of this adds more mystery to the pyramids, making them an irreplaceable presence in the history of world architecture. We believe that for countless years to come, they will remain the most magnificent and splendid chapter in the history of human construction. Number 2, the Polar Research Station. This might be the most cold-resistant house in the world. It remains unscathed in temperatures of -60 degrees Celsius and can even move freely. How is this achieved? This is the Antarctic Research Station located on an Antarctic ice shelf, Halley 6. It is situated on the Brunt Ice Shelf in Antarctica. Because it is used for scientific research, it must be permanently based there. This means that building it required more time and more refined technology. Upon closer inspection, you will notice that the research station stands on a series of short legs. These are actually hydraulic support legs. The reason for this design is that the Brunt Ice Shelf is 150 meters thick, and the surrounding temperatures can drop to as low as -60 degrees Celsius, with wind speeds reaching 160 kilometers per hour. In such a harsh environment, ordinary buildings simply cannot be established. Thus, the architects designed these rows of predominantly blue modules. The special material on their exterior can withstand low temperatures and strong winds. The hydraulic legs at the bottom, paired with skis, provide mobility and can also raise and lower the station's height at any time to cope with the changing local environment. Since it was put into use, Halley 6 has delivered impressive results, effectively ensuring the progress of the researchers' work. In Antarctica, there are countless research stations like this. These are all the crystallization of architects' wisdom, another perfect collision of construction and knowledge. Number 1, the Desert City. This is Saudi Arabia's future city project, The Line, with a planned cost of $1 trillion US. It spans across deserts, mountains, and valleys, stretching for 170 kilometers. Unlike ordinary cities, The Line is innovatively built in a linear model. The entire city is 500 meters high and 200 meters wide, extending from the Red Sea all the way inland. This special shape gives it an extremely futuristic feel. What's even more unimaginable is that the entire city's exterior is wrapped in a giant glass mirror wall. From a distance, it seems to be invisible in the desert. The advantage of this is that it can reflect sunlight, keeping the interior of the entire building at a constant temperature. It can accommodate 9 million people. The entire city is powered completely by renewable wind and hydrogen energy. All domestic waste produced can be fully recycled. According to the initial plan, it is a city completely without cars. All food delivery and courier services in the city are handled by drones. The metro speed is increased to 500 kilometers per hour. Here, you can get your food delivery in just a few minutes and reach any part of the city in 20 minutes. The sense of technology and the future is fully embodied. The ground level is entirely a green zone. The middle level is for human habitation. This is a scene that would only appear in science fiction novels. At first, people thought that this seemingly ethereal design would inevitably be abandoned. However, a Chinese construction company has actually reached a cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia and is about to tackle this tough challenge. The project has now officially started construction. Whether it can showcase the sci-fi feel of the blueprint in the future, we shall wait and see. Of these 10 most powerful constructions in the world, which one amazes you the most? Let me know in the comments. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Global's best updates daily. See you tomorrow.